Welcome back to this week's episode of Austin's Academy of Sports. This week I will be focusing on baseball as postseason baseball heats up starting this Friday on ESPN and ABC. Make sure you tune in. The teams have been set, and they have been set since Monday, I believe. And I will mention all of them, but I only have one important series that I will keep my eyes on throughout the wild card. So without further ado, let's get mentioning the teams. The Rays will play the Guardians, the Phillies will face the Cardinals, the Mariners travel to play the Blue Jays, and the Mets host the Padres and Queens, all wildcard games leading up to the American League and National League Division Series. So many interesting series here, as I mentioned, but I'm only going to focus on one. So let's get started with the Mariners and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are not nervous to play a home game, especially in Toronto. They've played home games before, especially home postseason games. Toronto is electric because that is their only baseball team in Canada, Toronto. And they are just solid. They've got experience playing games. And yeah, I believe that their general manager, their franchise, is turning into a young juggernaut because of players and money and cap space. Players like Vlad, Bichette, Springer, Merrifield, who they just traded for, are all highlighting the offensive scheme, I should say, of hitting home runs, getting base hits, doubles, triples, you name it. They're just stacked everywhere you look. Now, there is a team that I believe is better than them in the Yankees, and that's why they didn't get to win the AL East, but they still got the postseason, like I'm mentioning, for the wild card. And as I mentioned, some of the great players on offense, Vlad, Guerrero, Bichette, Springer, Chapman, and Merrifield highlight the offense. But now for pitching, they are led by a three-headed monster, I believe, of Alek Manoah, Jose Barrios, and Kevin Gausman. Now, they've racked up great numbers this year, especially Alek Manoah, who's young. As I mentioned before, they're all young. They will be in contention for a while, for years to come, with the AL East just getting tougher and tougher and tougher. Besides the Orioles. I think the Orioles they're overrated. But anyways, on the Mariners side, they are back in the playoffs after a long drought. Excuse me. Now, the Tigers, unfortunately, are tied with the Angels with the longest playoff drought in baseball. And that is not a good thing, as I am a Detroit Tigers fan. Next year, they should be better with a new GM. But anyways, the Mariners' best player has to be anonymous decision here. Their young rookie, Julio Rodriguez. By the way, he just got a contract extension a few months ago for like 11 years, and I don't know the money off the top of my head, but it was big. Like, huge. I'm surprised the Mariners had that kind of money, knowing that they don't make the playoffs that much. Like I said, this is one of their big years here, as they just made the wild card. But they should, if they didn't match up with the Jays, I believe they'd get farther in the playoffs. But now that I say they matched up with the Jays, I think the Jays' experience in playoff games are just going to knock the Mariners out. Especially, it'll give them experience for next year with the Mariners, with Julio and stuff and players like that. But they're not this year with the Jays in Toronto, not getting it done. So that was my one intriguing wild card matchup. Best of 3 game series, by the way, for all 4 games of the wild card. Played at the home teams, or played at the best team's home stadium the whole time. So yeah, I have the Jays winning that series. But for the World Series matchup, my prediction at least, I have the Dodgers beating the Astros. Big surprise there. They're always in the playoffs. They're always in the World Series, I should say. And this year, no different. They're top seeded in AL and NL. And this year, I sadly have the Dodgers beating the Astros because, like I said, I'm an American League fan. I want the American League teams to win, but I do have the Dodgers beating the Astros. I just think the Dodgers will be too much to handle for the Astros. And like I said, it goes back to experience. I mean, I'm not saying any of these guys don't have experience because they do, but I just believe the Dodgers have a juggernaut of a team. And they've been building this juggernaut like for years. And they will have this juggernaut for years to come as they just have a bunch of money. They have a good coach, a good GM, and they know how to spend it on good players. But it doesn't also hurt to have all that cap space and money. And I just don't see their team having a weakness. Their pitching is good, their bullpen's good, their offense is good. They just don't have a weakness. And I believe they had the most wins in baseball this year, so which is another key stat there. And they're playing in LA because they got the most wins, so they'll be hosting the World Series, which is Chavez Ravine. That's electric when you have talented players that your fans can count on you, knowing that you'll get the dub every time. Well, maybe not every time, but most of the time. And then, of course, in the offseason, getting Freddie Freeman, that dude is him. He helped the Dodgers get the most wins. I knew they were going to make the playoffs without him, but still, he helped them in a big way. He's going for the batting average crown this year. And I don't know yet if he got it because today is the last day, game 162, as I mentioned. But for my World Series MVP, I have both of the broadcasters, ironically, because I like being sports broadcasters. Or because I like sports broadcasters and I want to be one when I grow up. Just kidding. I mean, I do want to be a sports broadcaster. Don't get me wrong on that. But I don't have the sports broadcasters as the MVP. I thought I could get you guys there. But for real, I have Mookie Betts smashing his way to the MVP. He did get the MVP the last time the Dodgers were in the World Series. And he deserved it. I mean, he's going to deserve it this year, too. Just he's got experience over the Astros being in the American League with the Red Sox years ago. Now with the Dodgers. Playing in the Dodger Stadium, it's just he knows it so well. I believe he'll get the World Series MVP. And that kind of wraps up my postseason baseball picture. Thank you for watching Austin's Academy of Sports, and let me know in the comments who you guys think will win the World Series this year. And if you want, just let me know who you got in the wild card, the DS, the CS, anything like that. So thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.